Okay, slope intercept form. So it, just like point slope form, the name tells you the components in the formula. All right, so let's start here at the top. So go ahead and fill in those first two blanks, slope and then intercept. Go in these first two blanks here. Okay. So it's the y equals mx plus b. It's the formula that most people remember out of Algebra 1, slope intercept form. So also go ahead and label the m is still the slope. Now the b is the y-intercept. So we just assign the letter b to it. Not really sure why it's the letter b. And I've tried to look it up before. I feel like there's all these differing, I guess they're opinions. I'm not sure what the real reason for the b is. But again, the name slope intercept is because of what's in the formula. Slope, the intercept. Okay? So when we write equations in slope intercept form, we generally can easily calculate the slope and we can get to the y-intercept. If we're doing point slope, we probably just can get to the slope and we just have a point to put in our equation. Okay, so slope intercept form of a linear equation, y equals mx plus b. So let's just identify what are the slope and the y-intercept of this equation. So if you want to go ahead and just m equals b equals, go ahead and write down what numbers represent the slope and the y-intercept. And if it helps you to write the format either above or below it. Okay, so m is always multiplied by x, so I can see here that 3 is my m. So because it says plus b, this number right here is going to be our y-intercept. Okay, so it's another way I could have also y equals 3x plus negative 5. Okay, so that clearly shows you that the negative 5 is going to be that's y-intercept. So it's a little different than point slope where the sign switches, and it's because it's a positive or a plus sign versus a negative like in point slope. Okay, well I want you to try number 2. This time you're going to write the equation of a line when I give you the slope and I give you the y-intercept. So on this one, I know we're in the slope intercept form section, but I don't necessarily say what format to put it in. But when I'm given the slope and given the y-intercept, it makes perfect sense to put it into the format with those two items. Okay, so you are either thinking about this or writing it down. We're just simply plugging it in. So it's going to be y equals 3/8 x plus 6. Okay. Now, if the question said, write the equation of a line with a slope of 3/8 going through the point of 2, 1, I'd probably use point slope form because I have a slope and a point. Okay, but we'll get into that more later after we've practiced both and we bring them all together. Okay, any questions so far? All right, well, let's get into more of the graphing side with this equation, I have a multiple choice question at the bottom. Looks like my graph didn't copy very well. Which equation models a linear function? So just a couple things you might want to add to your picture. The line you have, I'm going to put a dot right here. That's 1. It's crossing at 2. You might have figured that out, but I know it didn't copy very well. So this is crossing at, we got a 1, 2, it's not crossing at a nice number right here. So actually, let's continue to find points on the grid that should have copied well that are on the line. So I can see it, one crosses right here. If I keep going down, will you put a dot there on your graph? Let's see, to put one up here, but we'll put a dot right here. So this is 2, 3, 4, and then it's just going down 1 unit. So I'm just going to label this ordered pair just because it didn't copy very well. So this is 4, comma, if it's going down 1, it's -1. So this point is at 4, -1. This is crossing at 2 here. Okay, so we are trying to identify which equation goes with the line on the graph. So first thing I like to do, that line on the graph or on your paper, is it a positive or a negative slope? Yeah, negative. So I know the m has to be negative. So that means, so actually if I kind of look here, this says 2x minus 4/3 x. There's 2 x's right here, so I'm going to pause on that one. This is a positive 2. There's no way it can be that slope because it's a -2. Okay? So what's the y-intercept of the line on the picture? 2. Well, how do you know it's at 2? Because it's on the y-axis. So the y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. It's where it intersects the line or the axis itself. So, of my numbers that are left, remember y equals mx plus b. So the number without the x is that y-intercept. This one looks good. This one looks good. So there's no y-intercept here, because there's no number without an x. So if there's no y-intercept, what value is the y-intercept in this equation? If it's missing. It's actually a number. Yeah. Will is going 0. It's a 0. So it's clearly not crossing at 0, so this one is out of the running. So we just have to decide, is it a -3/4 slope or a -4/3 slope? So how can I quickly get slope on a graph? How can I quickly figure it out? If I asked you to tell me the slope of this line, what would you do? Really not one right answer, but how would you get slope? What do you think? Yeah, I would just count it. Count your rise over run. Okay, so remember you can, when you do slope, another way to count slope is rise over run. I mean, I could do the y2 minus y1 formula or x2 minus x1, but I feel like it's a lot easier just to count. So you just need 2 points. I already know it's a negative slope, so I'm going to consider my rising going down. So 1, 2, 3, and then run 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a -3/4 is your slope, which means this has to be it. Okay. So really, again, it's just looking for the slope and y-intercept. Now, you could have at the very beginning just figured out the slope and the y-intercept, and honestly, we could have probably done this by just figuring out the slope, because there's only one that has the correct slope, -3/4. Okay, but you can look at all the elements of it. Okay, let's actually graph it now on the coordinate plane using that M and B. Alright, so let's go to the next one. We've got 2 that we'll graph here. Graph the equation y equals 3x minus 1. So I like to identify M and B. If you can see it in the equation and you're not switching them around, that's fine. So my M is going to be your 3. B is the -1. So should I graph the 3 first or the -1 first? Yeah, the -1. I always think begin with the B. You have to start with the y-intercept. That way you can count a rise over run. So y-intercept is on the y-axis, so put a dot at -1. So I need rise over run. So my slope is 3. So I don't have two numbers there. What's my rise over run on when you have a slope, when you have a whole number of a slope? Santa, go ahead. I thought you were gonna. Yeah, you gotta turn it into a fraction. So I need to really make this 3 over 1. Okay, so all whole numbers, just turn it into a fraction by putting it over 1. You haven't changed the value. So you've got your rise, 3, run of 1. So I'm going to go up from your starting point, 1, 2, 3 over 1. And I usually count it a couple times. I mean, you could go as many times as you want and you make your line. Okay, and then do your best to draw a straight line. If you want, some people like to take the edge of a paper, the edge of your calculator, but just go ahead and make your straight line. Put arrows on the end of it, because it goes on forever in both directions. And I always take a second to say, did I do my slope right? So 3 is positive. Did I graph a line that has a positive slope? And I did. Because it's very easy to go the wrong way with your run. And so if you take a second to decide that you went the correct direction, you might catch some of those. Okay. Any questions on that first one? All right, let's look at the second one. So the second one isn't quite ready to graph yet. I need to put it in the format of y equals mx plus b. Okay, so I need to notice I'm solving for y. I'm trying to little by little get everything onto the right-hand side of the equation, but keep it y equals. So I need to first get this one over here. So if I want to take an entire term and move it across the equal sign, you have to add or subtract it. So 4x is positive. If I want to move it, I have to subtract it from both sides. Okay, so the first step I want to do, let's move it over. And I'm going to align it under the 2x, because those are the like terms. I can combine those together. So 4x minus 4x is 0. So that's gone. I wanted that to happen. Bring down your 3y. Okay, add these guys together. 2 minus 4 is -2. So I've got a -2x plus 12. I need 3 to go away. So it says 3 times y, so I have to divide it by 3. And I have to divide everything by 3. So I'm going to divide this by 3, this by 3, and this by 3. So this is what I wanted. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I've got y equals. Now remember, what is this in my equation when I go to graph it? What does this represent? Is it my slope or my y-intercept? My slope. I want a fraction. That's good. So let's leave it as a fraction. Don't divide that out and turn that into a decimal. That's my rise over run. This will divide out evenly. Now, if your slope divides out evenly, go ahead and do that. You don't want to not divide it if it can. So it could be a 4. So now we're just back to this equation. You got your m, you got your b. So go ahead and graph this line. So we're just kind of rearranging terms to get it in the format we can graph really easily. When you get done, decide, did I graph it right? Do I have the right slope? Sometimes there's a big picture to it. Okay, so I'm starting at 4 down 2 over 3. Now, you could also, if you run out of room, sometimes the graphing, you can't get enough points. Remember, you can also go up and the other way. So once you see your line forming, if I'm going down 2 over 3, I can go up 2 over 3. And you can see more of my line. And then you're making your line arrowheads on the end. I have a negative slope. This is decreasing. Okay, so I went the correct direction when I counted my run, I guess, the 3. All right. So far, so good. It's just weird to look at, and all I see are your guys' eyeballs. You can't tell at all by looking at your face how it's going, except your eyeballs. So, all right. Well, we just got a few more. Let's take a look at it. All right, so take a look at 5. I want you to try to work through 5 on your own first, and then we will talk about it. So let's see what you've got to begin with. Okay, so I can't tell by looking what the slope and y-intercept is. And as I walk around, I think I saw almost everyone moving in this direction. You got to get y all by itself. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can get there. I would probably distribute first. So I would have 2y minus 8. Okay. And then I'm trying to get y by itself. So what you could do is you could get the 8 over here. Alright, so I would have to add it to both sides. And there's no number besides x, so I'm not going to add it to the 6. I'm just moving it over. So then that would give me 2y equals 6x plus 8. And then I'm ready now to divide. So I end up with y equals 3x plus 4. And then now I can quickly see the m, the slope is 3, and the y-intercept is 4. So the slope is 3, and then your y-intercept is 4. Right? And I can't see it in that top equation. It's not in the correct format in order to identify that. Okay, so you're just kind of moving things around, left to right across the equal sign. So if I am trying to move a whole term, whether it be 8, or in a previous example we had 4x, if you're trying to shift a whole term over, you need to add or subtract. Versus, if I just have a number times something, I'm undoing all that with division. Okay? So just think format. Are you in the right format to do what you need? That's kind of what you need to work with. Okay. Well, there are just two more at the bottom I'd like you to look at. If you have questions on this one, though, let me know. But let's wrap up with those bottom two. You're identifying slope and y-intercept in parts A and part B. Okay, on these last two, you're just simply identifying M and B. So on this first one, the slope is the number that you multiply by x. So there is a number there. It's a 1. Okay, so for some reason in math, just don't write the 1 when it exists in front of number or in front of variables. So your slope is 1, your y-intercept is 4. And then on this one, negative 3x, so negative 3, and your y-intercept, when it's missing 0, represents nothing. So it's going to be a 0 on that one. So those can sometimes be a little tricky. Just sometimes I think on this one, I tend to see people tell me the slope is 0, and there's really a 1 sitting there. Okay? All right. Well, on the homework in Schoology, there are a couple at the end where you are graphing on your screen. So if you have that stylish EMR pen, that will be great. If not, you can kind of enlarge your screen. You can use your fingertip. It'll be a little bit more challenging, but you can do that. And if you don't have that EMR pen, I think we've got some extras in the office that you're welcome to purchase still, or you can do an order if you're finding it's something you need. And we'll use it from time to time, especially when we're doing stuff on the computer. Okay. So I'll have to grade those. So I may not be able to get it back to you like as soon as you submit it. Yeah.
Do you demonstrate as well?
Yeah, that'll be okay. You feel like you can work on that, your homework later. I got almost 15 minutes. I need to get a new clock, I think. Keep replacing the battery and it keeps stopping. I think the clock is about dead.